Okay, hi everyone, and welcome back to this video introduction series on firewalls, chapter 18, choosing a firewall that meets your needs. After you define your company's security requirements, you need to choose a brand of firewall. The most common question that we firewall experts here is, what firewall do you recommend? This chapter discusses the criteria that we use for choosing firewall solutions for our customers. How do you decide? The decision on which firewall product to use should not be made by a single person unless the organization is so small that only a single person has any idea what a firewall does. Using a committee to make a group decision is the best solution because it ensures that a single person's preference won't cloud the decision. When making the decision, the committee should draft a set of criteria against which to evaluate the firewall solutions. Furthermore, ways should be assigned to each criterion to make it easier to compare competing products. The committee should rank the products according to which one matches the criteria most important to the organizations. For example, you wouldn't choose a product that is 3 times more expensive than a competing product when your most important criterion is to keep down the price of the firewall. Okay, what to compare? Several features must be included in your criteria for choosing among different firewalls. When drafting your criteria, consider the following: ICSA Labs certification status. ICSA Labs, a division of True Secure Corporation, performs standards testing for commercially available security products. Testing is provided for firewalls, antivirus solutions, Internet Protocol IPsec products, and cryptography solutions. A firewall product with the ICSA Lab certification has undergone extensive tests performed by ICSA Labs to ensure that the firewall product meets a number of demanding security standards. Ease of use. The firewall that you choose must be easy for the firewall administrators to configure. If the interface for the firewall is too complex or not intuitive, the firewall may not be secured to the level required by the organization because the firewall administrator is unable to find the necessary configuration settings. Ease of use can also be measured by considering the location from which the firewall can be administered. In some cases, a firewall administrator may be required to configure the firewall from the external network. You must decide whether your firewall must be remotely administered. Current expertise of administrators. When choosing a firewall, look at the expertise of your firewall administrators. Choose a product for which you have local expertise in configuration and management in order to reduce training and deployment costs. If you do so, deployment can take place in a far shorter interval. Supported platforms. Some organizations are not comfortable with a firewall solution that runs on top of a full operating system. The firewall administrator feel that the firewall then inherits any security weaknesses of the underlying operating system. Although that is not true in most cases, the concern must be addressed. An organization must define which operating system that it will support for the firewall. Support for multiple zones. When deciding on a firewall solution, make sure it can support all security zones you need in addition to an internal network. Many organizations use separate networks for resources that are accessible from the internet separate networks, often referred to as demilitarized zones, DMZs. DMZ configurations should be designed beforehand. Knowing how you want to deploy your DMZ helps you to eliminate firewall products that don't support your required configuration. For example, some firewall products only support only 2 interfaces. If your DMZ requires 3 zones using a single firewall, you can easily remove these products from your list of selection. Protection against common attacks. Many different types of attacks are commonly used on the internet, such as denial of service, DOS attacks, and buffer overflow attacks directed against web servers. A firewall should detect all attacks that your network is susceptible to and implement measures to either block these attacks completely or reduce their effectiveness. Intrusion detection. The ability to detect intrusion attempts goes hand in hand with protection against common attacks. Intrusion detection means that a firewall detects when a hacking attempt occurs and alerts you about what's happening. Some firewalls have excellent intrusion detection capabilities. Others may block attacks but have no method to alert you when an attack takes place. If you are concerned about intrusion detection, make sure that you check which types of attack the firewall detects and what alert mechanism it uses. Logging options. The only place to find the details of an attack is in the firewall's log. When researching firewalls, determine what log formats are supported by the firewall. For example, does the firewall support recording data to a database, or does it store the information in proprietary log formats? The use of databases opens the door to more analysis products than proprietary log files allow. Another important aspect is the reporting capabilities of the firewall. Can the firewall give you an understandable report of your network traffic, or do you have to read through hundreds of pages of logs to analyze network activity? Management options. Not all firewall management is performed on the internal network or from the actual firewall console. If remote management is required, the tools required to manage the firewall may help you make a decision. For example, a firewall that can be managed by using either a telnet client or a web interface enables management from any client on the network without the installation of additional software. If additional software is required, your firewall rules may have to be configured to allow additional ports to be open for the management console. Product support options. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you simply install the firewall and it works exactly as expected. You may have to contact the software vendor for technical support. Be sure that you research what methods of support are available to you. Does your vendor provide email support, telephone support, or only web support? Even more importantly, how long will it take to respond to your queries? Real-time monitoring. A firewall that provides real-time monitoring allows a firewall administrator to see the exact use of a firewall at any given moment in time. Real-time monitoring also allows a firewall administrator to see exactly what resources are being accessed by each individual connection. It also allows the firewall administrator the ability to terminate a connection immediately if required. Application layer filtering. A firewall should do more than provide packet filters. Application layer filtering allows the firewall to inspect the actual commands or actions to take place within a protocol. For example, application layer filtering enables you to configure the firewall to allow only FTP GET commands to an FTP server while preventing FTP PUT commands, or to inspect incoming HTTP traffic for attacks, including the Nimba and Code Red worms. Almost all firewall vendors have begun offering some application layer filtering. As you evaluate products, ensure that the firewall can inspect the application layer protocols that your organization uses. For example, if you want to filter instant messaging traffic, it won't help you if the firewall can inspect email traffic only. Common types of application layer filtering are web content, email content, FTP file transfers, instant message content, and viruses. Finally, make sure that adding application layer filters to a firewall does not significantly reduce the firewall's performance. Extensibility. New protocols and services are introduced each year. Your firewall should allow you to define new services and protocols if they don't exist in your services listing. If you can't add new required protocols or services, you must plan for additional upgrade expenses or switch to a different firewall solution later. Plug-in availability. A plug-in integrates with your firewall to provide additional capabilities such as virus scanning or methods for allocating available network capacity between types of traffic. When purchasing a firewall, research what plugins are available and whether they provide services that your network requires. Client software requirements. Some firewalls, such as Microsoft ICSA Server, require that client software be installed on all participating clients in order to provide the full benefits of the firewall. Your organization may not want to add the deployment of client software to its firewall deployment plan, or your company may not have clients for which client software is available. Investigate client software requirements. Be sure you know the minimum hardware requirements. Also be sure to enumerate all supported platforms and compare them to your deployed platforms. Client software requirements. Some firewalls, such as Microsoft ICSA Server, require that the client software be installed on all participating clients in order to provide the full benefits of the firewall. Your organization may not want to add the deployment of client software to its firewall deployment plan, and your company may not have clients for which client software is available. Investigate client software requirements. Be sure you know the minimum hardware requirements. Also be sure to enumerate all supported platforms and compare them to your deployed platforms. Available licensing options. Networks grow in size over time. Be sure to research what licensing options are available for your firewall and how easy and, more importantly, how expensive it is to upgrade to provide more licenses. Virtual private network VPN support. Do members of your organization require external access to your internal network? Some firewalls include VPN services within their base services. By deploying the VPN directly at the firewall, you can only have to administer a single device for all incoming traffic, and you don't have to deal with some obstacles such as IPsec being unable to traverse NAT service. If the firewall does provide a VPN service, be sure to investigate how interoperable the solution is with other VPN client software. You don't want to lock your organization into a single vendor because they may restrict further changes to your firewall product. Track record. Look at the track record of the firewall. Some firewalls have a long history of security bugs. Others have a clean record, while still others have only a few bots. Despite what they say in the world of investing, past performance is not necessarily an indication of future results. A product that has a track record of a few bugs and a fast response by vendors of bugs that have been discovered can indeed have an influence on your level of confidence in a firewall. Cost. Although we mention cost last, it is probably the most important factor in a firewall decision. Administrators often ask, why should I pay $2,500 for a firewall when I could buy one myself for $1,500? In that case, you must ask yourself, how much confidence do I have in a $1,500 homebrew solution? At the same time, cost is not always an indication of quality. Excellent firewalls are available that are one-tenth the cost of competing products. If both products serve your purpose, you don't need to buy the more expensive one. And with any purchase, make sure that you can trust the device of the person selling you the firewall. Finally, look at all the costs. Some firewalls charge extra for client licenses, yearly maintenance fees, support costs, additional processors in your computer, or the features that you use. So I'm going to leave it here this evening for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.